Blizzard are setting the stage for World of Warcraft's future storylines, and looking at patch 8.2, one thing could not be more clear: the dragons are returning. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another lore video. Today things are going to get fairly big. So, the Cataclysm ended with Blizzard depowering the Dragonflights. They, as an element of the plot, then stayed pretty dormant for quite some time, but that's all about to change. Battle for Azeroth is reintroducing the Dragonflights in a massive way, such that they absolutely will have a role to play in the future of the game. Of course, at first it's by them empowering your Heart of Azeroth. Well, how about today you replace that artifact power grind with a bean grind and learn how to empower your own heart with the perfect cup of coffee through today's sponsor, Skillshare. From plant to cup is an hour of learning how to do coffee right. You'll learn everything: tools, grinding beans, how to select beans, plus brewing methods, and seriously, once you start getting good beans, it's a whole other world with coffee. So Skillshare is an online learning community with over 25,000 courses ranging from productivity to business to art, and then even topics like what you've seen today. And that's all for only $10 a month on their annual plan, but if you use my link, you'll get 2 months of access for absolutely free. That's 2 months to try out as much as you want, be it learning coffee through this course, developing your career through a new creative skill, or trying out new hobbies. So check them out with my link, and a big thank you to them for supporting our team. And with that, let's get into the video. This, like much of BFA, begins with the Heart of Azeroth. So, in 8.2, we realize that Azeroth is nearing death, and a plan is devised to further empower the Heart of Azeroth with powerful essences from across the planet, including those of the Dragonflights, with of course there being large narrative parallels to past events, which we covered in the channel's most recent Warcraft lore video. So that's the direct parallel with the Demon Soul, and yeah, we all know how that one ended, with Deathwing destroying a bunch of dragons, demons, and night elves during the War of the Ancients. Now, as a part of the questline to empower the heart, we help out the various Dragonflights, and in doing so, we learn a hell of a lot, with this all kicking off the next chapter of the Dragon's story. And we're going to begin that story with the Greens. So, Kael'gos visits us in the Chamber of the Heart, telling us that the Greens are in danger, so we immediately travel to the Temple of Elune, where we meet a new character called Merithra. Now, she is the daughter of Ysera, and seemingly is now the de facto leader of the Green Dragonflight. However, of course, it's World of Warcraft, so all is not well. A tide of void creatures is pouring into the Emerald Dreamway, and even worse, they're attempting to corrupt the sleeping green dragons. So, at the behest of both Merithra and Velarythria, yep, the dragon that we saved all the way back in Icecrown Citadel years ago, at the behest of the two of them, we go into the Dreamway and we try to fix things. Now, it is known that, as well as helping them, we're also there to get the essence of their flight. So Merithra tells us to pick up fragments of their essence from around the Dreamway as we clear it. Naturally, it's World of Warcraft, so we succeed, all goes well, we save the dragons, we slay the void creatures, we collect our essences, but in order to reforge them into something that's actually usable, Merithra takes us deeper into the heart of the Emerald Dream. That's the place that we ended up in after the Emerald Nightmare raid was cleared. Once inside, we find, big surprise, yet more void corruption, forcing us to clear the area of void tendrils and avoid terror. Eventually, though, we do get our essence, but upon further exploration, things do seem pretty dire. As I covered in a previous video, the remnant of the void has flowered, it's now lootable, and those tentacles, well, they must have sprouted from underneath the Heart of the Dream, which seemingly is where that strange vault that Cenarius is standing over would lead to. So, all rather spooky, but we've already covered it. So what do we learn from this quest? Well, we've got Merithra, the daughter of Ysera, and she's the new leader of the Green Dragonflight. The quest also introduced Velarythria as a character, potentially establishing her for future storylines. And once we speculate more, well, we know the Void Remnant has flowered, and we know that Ysera's spirit, which previously had been drawn to the flower, has disappeared. Or should I say consumed? Maybe. Let's move on. Next up, we've got the Black Dragons, so they have a more simple questline. The rest of them get pretty cool though. So what happens is Mother locates an essence within Neltharion's lair and sends us to it. We end up meeting up with our old pals Ebonhorn and Navarog, and then we head down into the lair. The essence is being guarded by a rightly suspicious Earth Elemental who calls up what Deathwing did, but after defeating the Elemental in combat, we prove ourselves to it, and the Elemental lets us get out of there with the essence. What's interesting is that Ebonhorn returns returns to the Chamber of the Heart with us, and later he is there to empower the heart with the Black Dragonflight's essence. And this is actually quite important, as it shows us that Ebonhorn pretty much is who we could consider to be the de facto leader of the Black Dragonflight. He is, after all, far older than Ratheon. He's got a lot more experience dealing with old god-related things, and what's very telling is that while Ratheon is not present, his agents are. They're there spying, watching us while we're in Neltharion's lair. And that's not the only place that Ratheon's agents are in. There's also an agent in Nazjatar, showing that Ratheon is very closely following our actions. Early on in BFA, of course, we also found a Black Dragon scale, and we brought it to one of Ratheon's agents just outside of Blackwing Descent. And that agent confirmed that Ratheon is in fact searching for the Dragon Isles. Yes, the Dragon Isles, and more on how this could all come together later. Now, my read on the Ratheon-Ebonhorn situation is quite simple. I think Ebonhorn is the sort of lawful good type, and clearly is the one that we could consider to be the true leader of the Black Dragons, at least insofar as the other aspects are concerned, given his involvement with the other aspects in the final empowerment ritual later on in the questline. Next, though, we've got the Reds, and this is where things really kick into high gear. So, Kalecgos realizes that Alexstrasza has went dark, so we, along with him and a contingent of other blue dragons, head to the Vermilion Redoubt. What we find there is not good at all. Alexstrasza is cut off and surrounded by the Twilight Flight. Yes, the Twilight Dragonkin actually dominate the ground, and you might be wondering how this happens. Well, we need to rewind time back to patch 8.0. While on an island expedition, we encounter a Twilight Dragon. Quite surprising. We defeat it and we bring its scale to a red dragon, again at the Vermilion Redoubt just outside of Grim Batol. That dragon reveals to us that the Trogs have dug deeper than anyone thought possible, revealing new egg chambers, with that dragon sensing thousands of tiny heartbeats. Thousands. So it seems like by the time 8.2 rolls around, a portion of those Twilights are up and ready to attack, seemingly catching the Reds by surprise. They seem to be totally off guard, not even able to send for help. So it really does seem like the Twilights just came out of nowhere from their perspective. So we arrive with a group of blues, and we fight our way through the Twilight ground forces, eventually making our way to an overwhelmed Alexstrasza, who we are able to save. She takes flight, sensing that the Twilight leader is nearby, and soon finds her. So while Kalecgos and Alexstrasza deal with their leader, we save downed Reds and Blues from being corrupted by the Twilight Dragonkin. And with them saved, we take flight atop Kalecgos and strafe the enemy ground forces, pretty much decimating them, soon making our way to their leader, a full Twilight Dragon called Vexonia. So, we damage her, but it's not enough. She retreats. So while the day has been won, there clearly is a lot more where she came from. So with that done, we are able to bring the leaders of each flight together into the Chamber of the Heart, and they all empower the Heart of Azeroth in a little cutscene, which of course grants us great power, but as I covered in the channel's most recent lore video, also potentially playing straight into N'Zoth's plan, which is a little bit dumb of them and a little bit worrying. That's far from it with the Twilight Dragonflight though, because they clearly are coming back in a major way. So let's take it from the top. So we've got Syntharia, also referred to as Sinestra, who originally created the Twilight Dragons by using Balagos's Bane, a cube that absorbs arcane magic, and a shard of the Demon Soul. Yes, the Demon Soul from the War of the Ancients, the same Demon Soul that was fueled up by the essences of the flights, which is a pretty major part of that video that I just mentioned. So the original Twilights were super powerful but super unstable. However, later, Deathwing was able to perfect the process of creating them, which resulted in the Twilight Dragons that we fought during the Cataclysm expansion. But by that expansion's end, after Deathwing was defeated, we all assumed that they were done with. But Legion would reveal that that was not the case. The Shaman class leader ventured into Deepholm in an attempt to recruit Therazane. In doing so, they helped Therazane fight the Twilight's Hammer cult, but even worse, they found that they were being led by the Twilight Flight. So we cut our way through to the Twilight Master, only to see them transform into a full Twilight Dragon. And when that dragon called Xerixia was defeated, her final words were rather telling. The blood of Syntharia flows through my veins, and her voice whispers to me from the dark beyond. Even in death we shall endure, Mother, I return. So this confirms that Syntharia is still alive, and Xerixia is saying Dark Beyond. Well, that certainly is strange, because the Dark Beyond is not the Twisting Nether. Instead, like the Dark Beyond, it's just physical space. It's just space, like, you know, our space. And that could suggest that Syntharia isn't even on Azeroth. But either way, she will be a major new villain, one that, along with Vexonia from the recent 8.2 quest, could play a major role in the future game. Then next, we've got the Infinite Dragons. I've already done a full video on the crazy time travel stuff that could be going on with them, but suffice to say, they are still active. In patch 8.1.5, they are involved in attacking the final Time Weaver, seemingly just in an attempt to crush anyone who can interfere with their plans. They've also recently tried to do two super important things. First, they tried to help Illidan by supplying him with a better plan for the raid on Mardoom, one that presumably would have led to his whole plan succeeding. Now, this makes a lot of sense because the Infinite Dragons serve the Void, and the Burning Legion were the Void's greatest enemy because Sargeras, like, it doesn't matter if a planet's infested, he can just slice the planet in two. Now, they also attempted to artificially age the locks of Yogg-Saron's prison by 40,000 years. Both of these are rather unsettling developments that were entirely communicated through time-walking quest text. So, with them interfering in both of those things and then trying to hunt down Time Weaver Delorme recently in 8.1.5, it's quite clear that they are an active threat. But with that said, let's try to bring this all together, and to do that we need to talk about Ratheon. It's clear to me that Ratheon is forking off from where Ebonhorn would take the Black Dragons. You know, he's a powerful lone wolf type character. He's a schemer who thinks he's working in the greater good. That's his type of character. He's willing to sacrifice a lot, well, you know, other people. And that seemingly is quite different to the lawful good Ebonhorn. Ebonhorn is the active Black Dragon leader, as seen by the end of the 8.2 Heart questline, meaning that Ratheon is, I'd say, pretty separate from the whole Dragonflight status quo and power structure and politics. We know that he has been searching for the Dragon Isles, and we also know that there was a cut plotline in Legion where he found uncorrupted Black Dragon eggs, though it is confirmed now that he has not found any because a Black Talon agent outside Blackwing Descent says that he hasn't found any more of his kin. Now, assuming those eggs canonically still exist in Neltharion's lair, then Ebonhorn would have control of those eggs. Remember, he did say he had a family matter to attend to in Neltharion's lair of the dungeon, and that could mean that he actually could be a Black Dragon leader with uncorrupted Black Dragons. So what this patch really does is it unifies the Dragonflights. It brings them all back together, it has them all talking to each other, gets them in one room, you know, very clearly being our allies, kind of like the good old days. We solve their immediate problems, we work together, and we firmly establish them as allies to the champions of Azeroth. So, which dragons have not done that? Well, clearly Ratheon and his Black Talon agents, clearly the Infinite Dragonflight, and the Twilight Dragonflight. Now, Syntharia is off-world, but Vexonia seems to be their more active on Azeroth leader. There are clearly thousands of eggs, Twilight eggs, in Grim Batol, seemingly so deep that the Reds can't even take them out, so one assumes that those eggs are deep enough that really any attackers would just be completely hentied to death. Regardless, Vexonia flew off, and as far as we know, Chekhov's gun can't go unfired, right? Where's Vexonia headed? Well, speaking of Chekhov's gun, let's talk about the Dragon Isles. They wouldn't establish these things not to use them. So here's the deal with the Dragon Isles. It's a blank slate. Now sure, Blizz had plans for them nearly 2 decades ago, but it's quite clear that if they were added today, they would have to fit the modern story. After all, the cephalopod-styled temple in the Dragon Isles concept art, well, that's already been used for the Shrine of Storms, so it's almost certain that the Dragon Isles will be its own fairly large thing. So I see a future where the dragons all converge on these isles. Perhaps we travel there along with the friendly dragonflights to wage war against the Twilights and Vexonia, all while Ratheon waits to do something because he's a wild card. We know he's looking for the Dragon Isles, and given his character, he's probably not going there to kick back and enjoy the weather. There's clearly something there that is relevant to him. We have zero idea what that is, but it's obviously of interest to him, so chances are there will be a power struggle between all of the dragon-related forces over it. If it's a power source, I imagine the friendly dragons would want to keep it in safe hands, and the Twilights would want to use it against us, and that Ratheon would attempt to seize it and use it for the greater good. But as evidenced by Warlords of Draenor, Ratheon's rather foolish version of the greater good is often far from ideal. Personally, I envision this as being one of two broad things, so it could be a part of a dragon-themed expansion, perhaps one where the alliance fracturing and the Elune stuff is maybe the B-plot. That would allow Blizz to give us classic enemies, classic allies, a bit of a break from the old gods, and of course a way to explore the lore of Elune through the Night Warrior Tyrande-based division within the alliance. Alternatively, the Dragon Isles, they could serve as the Emerald Nightmare sort of a future expansion, i.e. an important B-plot element that serves to diversify the expansion's content and still establish some lore. Overall though, I do doubt this would be an entire expansion, but it certainly could be a patch or a raid. World of Warcraft's dragon lore is very simple, old school fantasy, in fairness, but I actually think that's what Blizzard tends to do best. They do big, cheesy things pretty well. As much as they maybe think right now they're writing Game of Thrones, I kind of think Blizzard don't do really good work when they're doing that. I think Blizz just tend to do better work when they keep it simple, they keep it simple and they keep it big and high concept. So stuff more like, Argus and all of that, which I think landed pretty well because it just got a bit cheesy, a bit ridiculous, almost a little bit anime, and I feel like that actually kind of worked for what they're good at, which is just big bombastic things. But anyway, there you go. That is my lore thoughts on the dragons. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know what your own theories are down below, and with that, I'll see you next time.